Can you hear me? Yes, this is starting. Perfect. So welcome to this talk where we will discuss about something super sexy. This is a European regulation, the CSRD, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and we will see how and why we did implement it in Odoo. So we will take a look at the challenges and what it is exactly, see how Odoo and what we have implemented, my company CO2, can help. We will go through a quick demo and then we will see the benefits basically. So what is CSRD? This is a new reporting requirement that has been implemented by the European Union, and actually at the moment already the companies that are above 500 employees need to report following this format. Within this CSRD, you have a sustainability part and you have also some other parts related to governance and to social concern also. And next year, in 2025, it will be also for the companies that are above 250 employees. So it means it starts becoming quite low. So you need to think about how your clients, or even you, if you are using Odoo, will perform this reporting. What are these challenges? Actually, this is a real headache. This is a headache because the data requirements are quite complex and are coming from multiple departments, from human resources, from procurement, from purchasing, from many different departments. This is quite manual at the moment for the companies who are already doing it. And of course, there is a high risk of error, and nothing is really integrated within a tool. So what we did, and why Odoo and how Odoo and my company CO2 can help. First, Odoo, I will not sell it. If you are around, it's because you are already convinced. So this centralized platform actually owns all the data that is needed for this type of reporting. You have all of the activity data that is available. It is open source, so we can develop on top of it and adapt the solution to match the requirements that is needed for this CSRD compliance. The reporting capabilities of Odoo are also very important because there's a lot of reporting. It's not only reporting, because the data to be collected and to be computed is also important, but these reporting capabilities are quite important too. And so this is what has been done with my company CO2. This is a high generic view on how to report your carbon emissions. So you have the first scope, second and third scope. This is usually how we talk about in terms of carbon reporting. These are the upstream activities and the downstream activities. And what you realize is actually for each of these problems, you have a solution in Odoo. So either you use the purchase app in order to cover these parts. You can use the asset part, the asset application, in order to know what are your emissions related to it. This is the expense application in order to measure the kilometers and so on and so forth. This is the HR application where you would be able to compute all the commute regarding your employees. This is the fleet application, and so on and so forth. And everything falls within the accounting application, where you will be capable of not only computing, but also reporting. Let's jump into a quick demo. First of all, there is one thing to understand about emissions and the way to compute them. You need to know that you have the activity data from one side. So for instance, here, if you consume 10 kilowatt hour of electricity, you need to have an emission factor in front of it. So here we are saying that for electricity, this is worth 60 grams of carbon per kilowatt hour. And that gives you the emissions that has been computed, like 0.6 kilogram of carbon. That's all what you need to know. This is just a multiplication. The problem is there are thousands, not to say even more than this, to be computed in order to get your carbon reporting. So let's jump into the demo. First of all, you need to know that this application is 100% open source since last week. So you can download it directly from the website here, my company CO2, where you can start, click here, and you get directly to the GitHub repo, so you can get the data, get the app, and install it on your side. That's the first thing. Thank you. We have also implemented all the demo data, so it means when you will start selling to Azure Interior, all of your tables, your chairs, and so on and so forth, you will be capable of seeing what are the associated emissions and all the emission factors that are related to it, so that's quite important at the beginning to understand the way it is working. In terms of emission factors, we have loaded several databases. Let me show some of them. So we have, at the moment, I would say, several thousands of emission factors. Here you have a hierarchical view of your emission factors because there are so many that it's important to be able to see them like this. And for instance, we can take one of these emission factors here. So let's say sport articles, and this is a basketball ball. And for this article, for this emission factor, you see the way these 4.60 kilograms have been computed. It is spread between transport, energy, and so on and so forth. But computing is one thing, but what is important is to reduce our emission factors. And this is how you will be able to define your plans. So here, if you look at the decarbonization part of the application, you have the ability to define a scenario. So here, this is a short-term scenario, for instance. And within this scenario, you can define some plans. So you have plans related to energy. This is a mobility plan. And this is a plan to train your employee in order for them to be aware that they need to reduce. And within each of these plans, you define what are the actions that you're going to put in place in your company in order to reduce. Here, for instance, you can reduce the temperature. So that's one of the main things. We don't want to compute only, we need to reduce. Let's have a look at the carbon footprint. Give me a sec, I'm just gonna try, oops. So, if I take the carbon footprint, I'm gonna pick an electricity invoice, and this is how it looks like. So here you have the number of kilowatt hours that you have paid within this invoice. There is, in front of this product, there is an emission factor that has been defined here. So this is the Swiss electricity average mix, okay? And then it is, as I said before, just, so to say just, a multiplication. And then you get not only your price and the money that is associated to it, but you get also the associated carbon to this invoice. And now let's say that for this Commune de Lausanne, they are providing you the information that actually they are more performant than the global Swiss average emission factor. So you have the ability, I did it here just to show you, I have created another emission factor that is called, for SCL Lausanne, they are a bit below the average mix. So I have created this emission factor, and what I will do is that I will associate it to the product I was showing before. Let's go to products. Let's go to electricity. And let me pick the new one. So now I will have to recompute. I will have to recompute the associated invoices. How do I get these invoices? Good question. Let's go straight into the emission factor. You see here at the top, the smart buttons, we have all the associated entries that are related to it. So now I just have to select them all. I have defined the new emission factor, and I simply need to recompute these invoices. It takes like a couple of seconds, and now this invoice is basically computed using the new emission factor. That's as simple as this. You have all the details that are related to it. So now you can see this new emission factor, as I showed you just before, and you can do this for every single invoice. Now let's have a look at the employees. This is an important part of your reporting, and of course it is not in your accounting, so this is what we are calling extra accounting data. And so what we do is that we have simply implemented this within the HR module. So first, in the sustainability module, when you set it up, you need to define where you will pick the emission factors. So I will be able to define any of these factors for a given employee. I will have to define where my accounting entries will be generated. So here I'm saying that this is within this account and within which journal these entries will be generated. As soon as this is done, I just have to perform the setup within each of the employee forms. So for me here, for instance, I'm commuting by train and I'm doing 440 kilometers per week. It results to search entries. So here I have spotted only the CO2 journal entries. And what you can see here within this entry is that we are generating for every single employee all the data that is needed to compute the associated carbon. Let me just pick the label. And you see here, employee by employee, we can see, where am I? Here, I've performed this number of kilometers, and every single month at the beginning of the month, this will be automatically generated, nothing to do on your side. Thank you. Asset management. This is an important part, all of your investments. And what has been done is that we did follow. There are two ways to manage the assets when you are reporting your carbon footprint. Either you consider what you have purchased this year and you compute all of this. This is the GHG protocol. And in France, you need to follow the accounting principles in terms of amortization. Both of them are possible in my company CO2. This is how to do it. For instance, I have taken an invoice which was for a MacBook. First, I want to show you that you have the capability with this small lock here to define what is the exact amount of carbon for this specific product. Apple has communicated it is worth 270 kilograms of carbon for a Mac. So you don't want to perform any computation, nothing. You just lock the value. This is what we are calling carbon on invoice. And this is as simple as this. You lock it directly on the invoice. So here is the invoice. Here is the associated asset. Within this asset, it carries the carbon that was defined on the invoice. And then you have all the associated entries, regular entries. And within these entries, the carbon has been broken down so that you get the same principle in terms of amortization, and you see the carbon that is linked to it. Nothing else to do. Again, it's all integrated within the tool. Then I will talk about the reporting. So in terms of reporting, we did integrated within the MIS report, which is one of the modules that is available by the OCA association. And basically what you are seeing here, this is the money on the left and this is the carbon on the right. So you can get your P&L reports face to face, split by money and carbon, so that you see the way you are performing, so to say, from a carbon perspective, and you can compare and you can do whatever is possible with MIS reporting by simply selecting the carbon data which is available in this reporting. What we did also is to integrate it within the dashboard application. So this is an example of dashboard where you have the ability to see what is your carbon footprint, and you have all the power behind the dashboarding so that you can, for instance, filter, slice and dice the data. You can take, for instance, here I should find my Mac somewhere. So as soon as you filter, everything is updated. You can pick the filters also at the top if you want to do so. You can select an overyear, and here you have a comparison between your global emission, the emission per employee, and the one depending on your turnover figures. That's it for the demo. Let's go back to the presentation. Can I? Thank you. So what are the benefits? Having Odoo and my company CO2 that are integrated like this. First, you don't need to think about where you're going to take the data. Where is the activity data? Should I contact my purchase department or the HR department? The big benefit is that all the activity data is already within your ERP, so you can leverage on top of it, and you have everything that is available. Everything is centralized. It is in one place. You don't have dozens of spreadsheets with consultants coming here to try and compute your carbon footprint. You get everything in Odoo, similarly as your other business requirements. We have this concern also with the compliance part, so we are in the process of having the tool being certified by the French authorities, and later on potentially somewhere else. So this is something standard. It will cover your needs. And as I said, counting is something, but we don't really care about counting. What we want is to reduce. So this will give you the ability to say, that's done, this is set up, it will compute automatically every day. Now I can focus on my action plan, on my climate strategy, and I will see how I can reduce on a regular basis. I don't have to wait 1 or 2 years my consultant to come back and to tell me, actually the action plan didn't really work. No, this is the next month that you will be able to notice that you had an issue and that you need to change your plans in order to meet the requirements and to make sure that the trends that you define is actually online. So the good thing about the partners that are in the room here is also that sometimes it's a bit tough to implement a project within a company's, for a client. Here, basically, you can leverage on top of this implementation. So you can say, we did a lot of job together, everything is nice in Odoo, is well represented, so now it's a matter somehow to configure the emission factor, to configure your product, then we run the computation, and you get your carbon footprint. So that's something that is very interesting for you guys as partners and for the clients who are in the room and who did a nice implementation in Odoo. What is also important is that there are more and more companies, as I was saying at the beginning, that are subject to this CSRD, and maybe you are below the 250 employees, and so you are not really subject to this regulation, but there is a domino effect, and the guys will want you guys, all of their suppliers, to report and to give their carbon footprint. So this domino effect is also something that we see and that we notice. And also the local authorities in their public tenders, more and more often they are requesting the carbon footprint to be delivered in order for you to get this type of markets. I'm done, actually. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. So now are the questions.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Very good, very interesting presentation. Right now we're gonna go to the question. So if you guys have questions directly that you would like to shout out to our speaker, please feel free to do so. Otherwise I will be looking at the pad and the YouTube channel. Some questions are being up right now, so we will have questions. Let me also double check YouTube just in case. Okay, nothing on YouTube. All right, we have one question here. Why are you only focusing on CO2? There is so much more dataset related to ESG that should be reported. Is there any plan on that side?
Very good question. So yes, this is something we are looking at because, for instance, beginning of 2025, the IFRAG will publish a new norm that is called VSME. This is for the voluntary small companies. And there will be other questions than carbon. For instance, you will need to look at gender equality, you will need to look at the salary differences between your employees. And yes, everything is already in Odoo. So the plan is not only to focus on CO2, but also on all of these concerns around social, around governance, and also around the environment. And when we say environment, there's not only CO2, but it's also all the raw materials that are around it, you know, water, for instance, or everything that is needed for the manufacturing to be able to process their products.
Okay. There's a lot of questions, so that's very nice. I'm just gonna group two of them together. One of them is about implementation steps. So if companies or partners are interested in implementing this into their customers' project, how do they do so? And also, is this available to other products, for example, the Netherlands? Is there other partners who can help out in different countries to implement?
So in terms of implementation, as I said, there is the open source version. Everything is possible to do, but it's not that easy to be 100% transparent. So we have a network of climate consultants who are ready to help the clients who want to perform their carbon footprint and their reporting. They are trained to the tool, so they will be capable of helping you guys. And yeah, I think I answered the question, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Where is Odoo in EUDR regulation? I don't know what this is, to be honest with you. EUDR règlement or regulations, I guess.
I have no clue of what EUDR is. Sorry, maybe we go for a question at the end.
We're going to go to another one.
If
you can come to the speaker. Can I get help with the configuration of the module? So I think you already kind of answered that. If I don't have experience with carbon accounting or reduction?
It will be difficult, but it should not be impossible. There's a lot of documentation within my company, co2.org, that will come soon. At the moment, it's not yet available, in order for as much companies and Odoo users as possible to be able to use it and to be as independent as possible. So if for some of them you have already a carbon footprint that is computed in Excel by a consultant, you should be able to replicate quite easily in Odoo. If not, you contact us and then we see how we can help.
All right. A very important question here. Is the app available on version 18 only or also on prior versions of Odoo?
It is available on version 16 and 17. It will soon be available on version 18. We don't know yet when. It's not yet available within the store. It's only within Git that you can download it, but it will be soon also be available in the store.
All right. We have one final question. No more question? All right. For all the questions I couldn't read, please feel free to come to our speaker at the booth and he will be happy to answer some questions.
Thank you. Thank you.